Everybody, it is the first Monday of May. That makes it a month because here we go. It is time for the Maw of Mike, that show which comes straight from my mouth hole into your ear holes and tells you everything you need to know, which is going in on DCC land. So, welcome everybody. Glad to see you all here. And joining with me tonight, first guest is this person who is immediately to my other side here, Mr. Matt Hildebrand. Matt, welcome
Hello,
back.
Mike. Thank you very much. Greetings and hello, everyone out there in Twitch land.
It has been a while. I think you were on like one of the early episodes when we just started getting this thing running. But
Yep. And since then, you've forgotten how awful I am, so I was invited back. Perfect.
I think it's just since then, it's like we've both been incredibly busy.
Maybe that's true. Maybe that's more true. Yeah.
Some of us slightly more than others. So yes,
Yep.
I just have everything on my side of the fence I have to deal with, and it's everything on his side of the fence, and you have like the entire lot. That's
That's true. That's true. But that only means I get to work with more special people, right? I have lots of communication with awesome people, so that's great.
We are very much a special bunch. Yes,
that's true.
That's one way of putting it. No. So Matt, we're having you on the show tonight because for several reasons. Mostly because for those of you who are tuning in to find out what's going on in DCC land, it's actually a pretty quiet month. It's like, as you know, we were right on the weather is changing. So that means we are right on the cusp of con season. We have coming up, we have free RPG day next month. We have DCC day DCC day the month after that. Then we have Gen Con right after that. So right now, there's a lot of stuff at the printer. So there's not a lot of stuff hitting the shelves in May. So we figure this would be the perfect time to talk about some things which are coming and kind of do a little bit of a retrospective, because as Matt hasn't been on for more than a year now, and there's been a lot of art dropping lately. So very lot of art heavy stuff. So we just wanted to kind of get into that. We wanted to talk about some of the projects we've been doing. We've got some art to show off with you, something people probably haven't seen before, or or haven't seen at all.
Right.
So let's start with the past. Let's start with the Kickstarter that has just fulfilled and is now available for everybody. So people will be seeing this art slowly. But that is, of course, Dying Earth, which was a huge, as you know, big art project. No.
Yeah, it totally was. Dozens of folks working on it for a long time. A lot of people, it seems like all the artists had their own method to working on their pieces. More than one did something like turning on the audiobook and listen to Jack Vance's work as they're working, right? As they're sketching and painting, which I think is a great way to go. But I think some of the artists, it was their first experience with Jack Vance. So it was a pleasure to commission all of the pieces in the box sets, in the adventures. As you said, Mike, most of them are released to the public. Some still aren't. Some are still on their way. So
right, and the even the ones that that haven't gotten into people's hands yet, either just because they're still waiting on their I think most of the Kickstarters were filled, but some people have bought they pre-ordered it, they went back to Kickstarter, so it's slowly coming in. But we've been having there's been a lot of social media presence on the web pages, so a lot of people have already seen like the covers. Speaking of the covers, we've got a lot of play. Errol Otis, who is a big Jack Vance fan, he did a number of them, so everybody was just totally blown away by his stuff, and of course Doug's stuff as always, and so it's so people have been seeing a lot of these very, very beautiful, very, very evocative kind of colors, and but what people haven't really been seeing is they haven't been seeing some of the interior art. Right. So you put together kind of an example of some of those, and I think let's start with some of the frontispieces that we have for that, because these are really cool ones. So is going to be she's in the production booth, and she'll be showing stuff off as we go. And I've got one eye on my Twitch channel, so we're going to talk about things as they come through. So everybody is get ready to show some stuff. So let's start with the first one. Let's start with the one from Moonstone. That was that number 4. I forget the So
I think that's right. I think that's one of Harley's adventures, right?
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. And these are, I think we have a couple frontispieces to show. First one from Harley's adventure. These double as, when you first open the book, this is the first image you see, and it has double duty. Not only should it be evocative and striking, but also needs to have a little bit of space somewhere in it, some dead space, so Matt can add credits and other text over top of the image. So I think the first one we're going to take a look at was done by Aaron Creeder. When it pops up, I'll confirm that I am actually correct about that. But he did a great job in doing exactly that, like kind of bringing the feeling of the Dying Earth through, and also, giving me some space to work my typographical magic.
Right. So I have it. I see it up. It's up on the Twitch channel now. I don't know. I don't know if you can see it, but this is definitely. I believe this. This looks like. I have a very small version of it.
Okay, cool.
I have my window minimized, but yeah.
I'm going to I just I had to reload my browser because my Twitch window froze. So I'm gonna vamp for another second until this ad is done, and then I'll be able to confirm that what I said is actually true.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll trust that it was. So
okay, sounds great.
So we also have this one. The next one we have up is for from Dying Earth number 7. So this was another one. I'm not sure you probably be able to recognize this, assuming your Twitch cover doesn't free. But this is kind of the weird staircase with the with the Dementors. Apparently they put up from Harry Potter momentarily to to kick some butt over on back transfer. So that's
yep, totally the case. I don't trust the spiral staircase in real life, much less one on the Dying Earth. So this was another one that's super evocative. I love the contrast in this, right? Like the strong dark background compared to the foreground elements. And as I said, Aaron did me a solid by leaving me enough space up there to add the credits and the titles and et cetera, et cetera. So another strong frontispiece.
That, but I will say this is a much safer staircase than anything that was built during the Palpatine administration, because apparently a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they don't believe in guardrails. So,
right.
So I'm glad to see we got around that by the time Earth is dying and the sun is about to implode. So there we
Amen.
So yeah, so this is because this is the furnace piece is always kind of a challenge. I guess it is because I mean, just I am not by any stretch of the imagination a visual anyone who does anything with visual arts or anything, but I do know that having to take account the credits and all the and there's and the drive-through RPG code and all the rest of it. That's having to include that dead space. I guess that could be challenging, but at the same point, I know from sometimes the limitations that are put on you, like when you're writing something, that sometimes those limitations actually allow you to do stuff that you wouldn't normally do if you had like a free range of it. So
yep, totally the case. That's something that I think I'm going to mention later when we look at some of the other pieces, is that creative constraint, right? Like you can do anything, but in this small little window, right? I think that it does sometimes pull out a lot of more creative thoughts than otherwise, right? So yeah, I think you're right on as far as that goes, Mike.
That's actually a good segue into the next ones, because we have a bunch of some of the patron spreads, and the patron spreads were another ones which are kind of challenging because you have to it incorporates both the text into into the layout itself, and it'd be really easy to give an artist like, okay, we need a 2-page spread. This is you get a 2-page spread, but it's not really a 2-page spread. So,
right. You get a 2-page spread, but you have to work around these very specific shapes of copy blocks, right?
Let's bring up the patron for Pragmatica, and give an example of the people at home, like kind of what we were talking about of this. Kind of, I think we first started doing this. I think we first started doing this in the DCC rulebook. But I definitely know that we started doing it by the time Lankmark came out. So right. So you have basically like a half page of art, kind of like one column, and then you have the weird kind of not I don't, but it's like gutter art, it's like but it's not gutter art, what I'm saying? It's it's down the lower and then runs up on the other side, and
totally the case. And Stefan did this one obviously, and he did a great job. Lots of Dying Earth feeling elements in this, and also there's a nice flow that kind of starts, like you said, on the far edge of the. Well, here it's time for a little bit of book trivia, right? I was going to say the left-hand page. Technically, that is the verso page. That it's called verso, and the right-hand page is recto. So verso recto. So verso, kind of that image starts and just kind of like trails around like a stream over to the right-hand page and takes your eye with it. And I think Stefan is he's a master at handling these strangely shaped pages.
I was gonna say, and he's done from one I remember, he's probably done the majority of this kind of layout of there, because I know he did like the first Lankmar ones, and I know he did the ones in like DCC. I know there's like the Thief one, that whole line too. So he's definitely has developed an eye for how to do this. So let's bring up the next one. This is the patron of Utah.
Yeah, I think Utah is another Stefan piece, and a great one. I'm checking it out now again. It's just his line work and the way those tentacles just kind of overlap and curl around each other. It's awful and beautiful all at the same time.
Right.
It's just amazing.
Here's a question for you, Brad. From from Brad. So, do you know if Stefan has an oversized scanner? I don't know where this is going, but
I think he must from some of the bigger color pieces and something like this. I think he must for sure. No. That's a good catch. If you can find an artist with an oversized scanner, snag him.
Also, all you aspiring art directors at home, remember that. Put that down. and all of you artists, if you want to get like a little bump over the competition, invest in that oversized scanner now. So
yeah, I've never met a scanner too big. That's for sure.
And we've got one more. I love this one too. This is the painter. This is the painter server Magnats. So, this is. I have a buddy who's a big fan of the Gillman from Creature of the Black Lagoon, so I had to kind of put it in there. So
that's awesome. Yeah, Cliff Karowski did this one, and Cliff has a great eye. I mean, kind of like a little bit more of a classical feel to his artwork that I think he did a great job on this, just carrying that stormy sea from one end to the next. And you can see there's a lot of words on this one. I mean, he still made it pretty evocative, which is great.
Yeah. We have a question from Great Bay Pre-Match. He says, how does the art from like a Doug Kovacs cover oil painting get turned digital? Is it just a scanners or some sort of special art scanner?
Doug has a big scanner. I visited his studio, and he does have a very expensive large size scanner. If you have it's just probably obvious, but if you have a small scanner, you have to take your painting and put it on it and scan twice, and then take those images into Photoshop and stitch them together. And it's more of a pain. But his is big enough that he can put, I think, at least 11 by 17 on it and scan one time. And of course, that digitizes that image, and he'll inevitably take it into Photoshop and clean it up a little bit. Then in some cases, Mike, like if it's just an image for a module cover, for a floppy cover, it probably doesn't need to do much around the edge. But in the case of a hardcover book, there needs to be like another 1.5 inches on each side added. So Doug has some Photoshop mastery to be able to accomplish that, right? So the image bleeds off the edge the whole way. So it's not easy, even though his scanner's big, but that's an essential part is being able to scan once and do a little tweaking.
All right, and we've got 3 more from Dying Earth, and I think this is a nice array. So let's bring up the first one. This is a map, actually. This is the more and this is one of the things is like we do appreciate the cartography work, especially those of us who write and do submit sketches, because our sketches actually are hysterically bad. At least on our side, it may not be, what the actual, but he was in, or maybe I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. Maybe Jack didn't know either, but
probably not.
I love this one because this is such like the sun on this is just like, yes, this is the bloated end of the world side. I mean, this is just like, well, maybe it's really low in the sky. No, that's just gigantic. That's it.
Yeah, totally the case. Yeah, Jason Edwards did this map. He did a few in throughout Dying Earth, and it's just fantastic. The amount of detail he can fit and still get that perspective just right. And I love the way, I mean, even his typography is beautiful. The way he calls out the different parts of the city. This is a fantastic one.
And we've got another one. This is a little bit of this is interior art, and this is a very very evocative piece. And this was the title for this is Tormented, from what I understand. So
Yep. Totally the case. I think this one's by Chuck Wellen, and and he sent this in. He's one that I mentioned just kind of turned on Dying Earth and just went crazy and turned in all kinds of amazing pieces, including this one where you can see this character, this magician, is wearing a rune on his arm, but maybe not the right one, because it didn't seem like it's protecting him from all these horrible creatures that are coming out of the woodwork.
And this is, I mean, Chuck is generally known. He has kind of a whimsical style, you know. I mean, generally known because he did all the cartoons and the first DCC stuff, and he has that style to him and everything. But this is, you know, I mean, although it's definitely a Chuck piece, this is, you know, there's pathos to this, you know. This is, I mean,
totally the case. Totally the case. Yeah, I love the fact that Chuck can you know, both ends of that spectrum. He can turn in pieces that work in both ways for sure.
Right. And we'll close out this one. I think we've shown this one. I think this has been shown on the Goodman Games website. But this is the cover of DCC Dying Earth #9, Time Tempest of the Nameless Rose, which is going to be the next Dying Earth adventure, which is going to come out later this year. But this is Julian Burnick journeying to the Dying Earth. And there's some time travel involved in here, and there's some stealing of stuff, and people coming out of the wardrobe. This ain't Narnia, you know. I tell you,
this ain't your dad's. This ain't your grandfather's Narnia. That's true.
Yeah. So this is a fun one. This is like Mars. Like, what happens when we steal stuff? This is like what happens on Dying Earth when you end up with too big of a dinner, like a restaurant bill. Like, you know, what kind of shenanigans you get involved in there. So
that's exactly right.
All right. So that's a bigger peek at Dying Earth, and so here's the next one is one that is for a project which we are currently getting close to fulfilling, is getting close to getting out, and that is of course that is of course is Dark Tower, and there's been a lot of art for this, and you know, but the ones that you picked for this one, these are absolutely. I mean, the first one we start. Here's the end sheet by Peter Mullen for this. So this is, we haven't quite decided which book this is going in. I have my thing, but this is just a fantastic piece. I
agree. Like, it's so much atmosphere in this one. Like the color palette's amazing. That Cyclops reaching around that pillar, it's just fantastic. And then I love the reflections in the pool and those thieves in the foreground who they know they're out of their element.
I think the one I love about this one is that this does not look like a modern painting. This does not look like something that was done in this era. This really looks like something that we would find on like a pulp cover or like some magazine from like the 1960s or something like that. It's just whether it's just that palette that he used on this or just the composition of it. But you know, I told you when I first saw this, like, it reminded me of like something that like I saw, you know, like a book. I think it was like a book on like the Bible or something like how they lived in Bible times, like the Reader's Digest, folks in like 1970 whatever, or anything that my godparents had. But that's what it looked like. So
yeah, I think that's another mark. A lot of the Dark Tower stuff does have a different feel. It's not just the vanilla fantasy look to it, right? It has that appropriate kind of little more Middle Eastern. It's not quite the plate armor. You know, they're not knights and wizards that we're used to seeing, for sure.
Yeah. All right, so we've got another one. This is Doug's end sheet for it. And again, I don't know where this is going yet. I think there's like some arguments going on, like who gets what. But
yes.
This is one of those. This is one of those, like, I have this. I'm going to open this and I'm going to stare at this for like the next 6 hours and try to find everything that is in this. So yeah,
it's totally the case. At least my smaller screen here doesn't do it justice. It's definitely one you can get lost in, and this is just an example. Like we gave Doug the manuscript and said, you know, just read through it, pick something. And both he and Stefan, who I think we're going to look at next, just chose a room that kind of was that spoke to them. And Doug spent a ton of time on this, but it turned out amazing.
Yeah. And this is the last one. This actually this Stefan's one, and this is the Temple of Set that he has done. This is a can't have Dark Tower without the set showing up. So
yeah, totally the case. And same thing. I think this color palette's amazing, and I love how Stefan uses different elements in this image to lead your eye where he wants it to go, and then kind of brings it back around to all the important elements. And talk about strange perspective, and Stefan's just a master of that for sure. Pretty neat.
Yeah, so this is all good stuff, and
totally.
we were getting very close to having the last bit of elements in for Dark Tower, and once we have that, it will be heading off to the printer. So, so we don't have a set time on when this is going to be delivered, but we are working on it as fast as we can. And the art at this point is basically the last stuff that we need before we kind of just do the test printing, make sure that everything's going to go out, and then it goes to the printer. So updates will be coming, and of course, once we have a better idea on that, it will go up available for pre-order on the Goodman Games website. So a little bit of time, but as you can see, it's all coming together. And speaking of big projects which are coming together, let's go into the biggest monster manual, monster book that has been ever published, as far as I'm aware of. So big that Wizards said, okay, we have to do one at least this big when we're going to do our next iteration of D&D, and that's of course the Dungeon Denizens, which is 500 plus monsters of it. And this has been a I know this has been a challenging project, because this is basically everything is color on this.
Yes. Yeah. Totally the case. This is, I mean, I've never worked on a book that's color from top to bottom, and the artists that we have working on it are doing amazing work. We've gotten lots of new folks to add to the ranks over the last few months, and that has really given us, I mean, our palette is broad and varied at this point, and I think that's only going to make it a better book in the end.
Yeah, I don't think Goodman has ever done a full color book like this before. No. So let's get some of these. Let's start off with the Flea Folk. So you have a trigger warning at home, people. If you were freaked out by weird monsters, you may want to walk away from the show for a little bit. So, these are our disgusting little free folk. This is this? I'm trying
Stefan.
Yeah, that's Stefan. Yep, I take a look at it. So we've got creepy little flea dudes. We have no size reference for this, so you're like, are these little tiny things? Are these guys like the size of gorillas or something?
Yeah, I don't know which is worse.
Yeah, right. It's like, I think like the big ones.
Probably
better, because I mean, at least then you see them coming. Right. Folk, you go to bed in the wrong bed, and wake up.
Totally the case.
this the next one is I don't even know what this thing is. I did the book, and I don't remember. Like, I saw this art and I was like, I do not remember this monster at all, but now I'm terrified of it. And this is going to be the Kitcher.
Yeah, I think this one this is one of the new artists we're working with. Now I'm going to ruin his name. Francois Licata, I think, is how you pronounce his name. And this one, is awesome, Mike. And I actually copied and pasted the description that we sent him, just as an example of what these artists bring to these things, right? So the brief mentioned that it was a resemblance to a spider, although they're demons from the lower plane. It also mentions 8 spindly arms ending in grasping humanoid-like hands. So they're predators, and they claw at, grab at their victims. They can also detach these arms to attack foes that they can't reach. But here's the creepiest part for me. They don't speak, and they seem to have no motivation other than to decorate with the blood and limbs of their victims. So
there you go.
We sent Francois that, and that's what he came back with. And I mean, how creepy. Just perfect.
He sounds like a keeper.
Totally.
I'm gonna say, if you like weird monsters, I remember when we were showing off some of the stuff during their Kickstarter, people were just like, well, like we had what was it? There was one of them was it was like the dire corgi or something like that. And everybody was just like, oh my god, like, I'm not supporting this. This is crappy, but this is then we have this thing, which is
totally the case.
All right, and now bring up the oh no not oh no not.
I think this is another piece from Francois as well. Okay, sure.
It's so horrifying that Elaine can't show it at this point. This is
right. She's beginning.
She's averting her eyes in terror as she's trying to.
Don't look at it directly, Elena. That's the best way to handle it. All right. There you go. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. this, this is like has everything wrong. It's like a spider meets a snake meets I mean, it's, I mean, it's like right there. It's like we've just lost 50% of the audience.
Right.
We can get the show down to like 8 people if I said it's also moist. I mean,
it's just too far. You've gone too far, Mike.
Yeah. This is
awesome.
This is just, I mean, as somebody who grew up, around a lot of ticks, this really gets that, like this thing bites you, you get like, like Lyme disease, like on top of everything else, what the horrible else is going to do to you. So, another question for you, for Brad, for you, Matt, is like, what medium is Francois working in?
Yeah, a fine question. And I don't know for sure, but to me, it looks like there's some kind of paint underneath pencil, that there's some kind of a highlight and shadow added on top of his paintwork, but I am not positive about that. He's relatively new and we haven't worked together too long. So hopefully he'll join us.
I'm so glad I have the show so I can foster communications between the artist and the art director.
Well, we have our drink and draw coming up. Hopefully Francois will dial in and we'll hear all about it.
No, Brad, I am not gauche. I think that's something else.
Yeah, that's gouache, but you're not that either, so it's okay.
All right. So the one thing that Dungeon Denizens has that the D&D doesn't have is if you think one Tarrasque or Tarrasque is bad, wait till you meet ours, because we have a whole bunch of them. Some of them can fly. But so let's bring up this one. This is the Tarraquanis Tarracus.
Yep, I think that's true.
Yeah,
that's how I'd say it. And yeah, Will McAuslin did this piece, and yeah, what's worse than one on the ground? Probably one flying above, right?
Yeah, exactly. so it's just like a lumber into you. It's going to come screaming out of the air like a small meteorite into our the entire chicken franchises.
That's funny you say that, because Will has plenty of chickens. I'm sure he would like to keep them safe from all the flying creatures that he draws so well. That's great.
Oh yeah. All right. So this is another weird one that I like. This is the tricrystalline, and I love this one just because of the just kind of the its head. Some people don't have any necks. Well, this one is definitely takes it to a new level. So
totally the case. Yeah, this one was done by Colin Richards, who is a gentleman that I met last year at GaryCon, and we met there in Wisconsin and realized we live about 20 miles from each other here in Pennsylvania. So, in any case, super cool. Like this one has a real kind of, I mean, I can picture this one as like a Marvel villain, like a cosmic Marvel villain from the 70s.
There's a little Jack Kirby action going on with this. Right.
Totally. And Colin wowed me there at GaryCon with his black and white work. I had no idea he was so talented in color as well. So luckily he's helping us out with this book.
So more advice if you're looking to break into the art, get a giant scanner and move within 20 miles of Matt. So there you go. Right then and there. So yeah.
Perfect.
Right. I'm gonna actually don't want to run too far behind. So
sure.
Just bring up the Yali call there if you wouldn't mind. Because this is a very Robert E. Howard Conan vibe going through this one. So yeah, this is it's like a lion meets an elephant meets
yeah, exactly, means who knows what. Yep. JV West did this one, and I love his work. It's similar to what you said with Chuck Wellen. He can have a little bit of a cartoony style, but also amp up the creepy when he needs to, or the dangerous. And this one definitely has that old look in its eye that you don't really know what's going on behind those things.
Yeah, so we're right now we have most of the monsters are now completed, the 500 hits, except we're gonna have to have 20 more. So I know some of you who are watching this, you submitted monsters and everything. We are currently in the process of going through those, and we're discussing how we're going to announce those. We may do kind of a live announcement of it and then post it online. So keep your eyes peeled on the Goodman Games various the dissemination of information, and we'll let you know about what's going on. We're kind of going through. We got a lot to go through, but so. So, all right. So I'm going to show. We have some art coming up next, which is going to look familiar to people, but there's a new context for it. So, Elena, will you bring up the next one, which should be the reference booklet cover art, according to my thing. So I know many of you who are watching this have this book at home, but we're going to drop a little information, a little something for you, you faithful viewers. The Dungeon Crawl Classics reference booklet from this moment forward is now actually an official Goodman Games product. We've made arrangements with the original booklet, and we are now going to be carrying this. It's going to be available through the web store. It is the same booklet that you know and love, with the exception of we actually added 4 pages to it. So but everything else is the same thing. It's a same saddle stitch, say everything you know and love, soft cover and everything. So it's just we've just kind of updated the trade dress a little bit, and we've got we kind of redid the layout is the same, but just made things easier on our end. So if we have to update it again in the future, we don't have to go through what we went through this time.
Yep, I think there is a sprinkling of new art in there too, Mike. So there's a couple extra pieces that might be new to folks.
Yep. And we've updated the text. The text is now the 9th printing stuff. So everything has been updated in there as well. And pre-orders were going to be available that at the middle of the month. So keep an eye on the Goodman Games web page, and we will announce it there. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go into one last stuff, and this is some art which people have not seen yet, because this is for a little project called Xcrawl, and people may have heard about this stuff. But we've been very busy behind the scenes. So let's start with an adventure written by my man Brendan LaSalle. This one, and this cover is done by Doug Kovacs, and this is Bay City Firestorm. And it's nothing to do with like a plaid wearing, kind of glam rockers from like the 70s. This is the city by the bay. This is Xcrawl in San Francisco. And this is going to be one of the adventures which is going to be available with the Kickstarter. So I don't know how great people can see on that, but I love the ads which are on the cable car. There's like Eat War and Death Cola and stuff too. Doug's like usual anti-capitalistic stance coming to light on that. So which I'm sure is something we may talk with the creator if we ever get him on the show again. So that's it. And we got another one coming up from Doug. This is the kind of, we want to call, this is not Cybercrawl Classics, that's something else, but this is Death in the Dungeon of Tomorrow, which is a homage to many other things, if I know Brendan very well. But we've got kind of our another piece by Doug, and this is an awesome cover. I love the guys. It's like I'm trying to figure out, like, are those shields or are they spinning something very fast? Like, are they spinning like a nunchuck very fast? I think the only way to find out is to play the adventure. So
exactly.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Brendan's just spinning nunchucks. So all right. Here's we've got one. This is the funnel for Xcrawl. This is the cover of this one. This is one that is filled with in jokes. If you've been kicking around for Goodman Games for a while, but this is Murder Mountain Smackdown, which Brendan, I just got to do a read through it just a couple weeks ago, and it is oh so much fun. So a little shout out in there for a certain Yeti who's near and dear to our heart, but this will get your Xcrawl adventure going. And so this next one we have up, this is a sketch. This is a sketch for one impromptu. This is the Tropical Cataclysm, which is not easy to say, but this is Stefan's work, I believe. Yes. And this one went back and forth like, how do we make this more Xcrawl? And I think Stefan definitely stepped up to the case here. And we have a rumble in the swamp. We have brought to you by Roxy Cola.
Yeah, this one's great.
And this next one, was another one. There's another sketch which is in the works, and this one is for the Book of Encounters, which I love this one. I just saw this for the first time, just like literally today, and I think this speaks to a lot about what Brendan's kind of subtext Xcrawl is. And there's a lot going on there. So.
Yeah, this is another one you could get lost in by checking out all the details.
This might be Brendan's first time seeing this one too. So, but
Just
yeah,
so good.
I love the plane going down in the background and everybody kind of all hooked up in their in their own personal stuff going on in the foreground. So.
Yeah.
And we have time for one last one. I think we'll end something from somebody who is actually in the audience here tonight. So this one is Brad's, and this is Fighter with Katana. And so there we go. And this file name was interesting. So I'm wondering if this was Brad. Is this dedicated to Jess? So,
it's a fine question.
Was this done in Jess's honor? This is your own tough fighter women. All right.
That's
so that's it. That's we've gone through a bunch of stuff, and I think people can say we've got some awesome stuff that's in the works. We're going to continue our history and stuff. You shared a piece with me today, and I was looking at it very well, and it's one of those things. It's like I could see the brush strokes on like the piece and everything like that, and I was just like, some companies,
right?
But I said, that definitely is that's definitely a Goodman game thing. So
totally is. Yep, real artists working with real artwork in the real world and doing amazing stuff.
All right. Well, that's basically our artist showcase for this month. I'm going to bring somebody else in a second, but Matt, thank you very much for spending some time with us and giving us that deep dive into the art, the creative process and talking about stuff. So
it was my pleasure, Mike. If I had anything else to say, it'd be and I would love to learn more about Xcrawl. Now, where?
I don't know.
How could that happen?
Let's go to a commercial break, and then we'll come back maybe with somebody who can help us out with that.
Awesome. Great.
Hey everybody, we are back and welcome to Keep Crawling with Mike and no, this is Maw of Mike with my man Brendan LaSalle here. Brendan, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike, as always.
So you're on the show here, and you're on the show to talk about Xcrawl, which that probably means something. That's probably So let's just get this right out of the way, and we're not announcing Xcrawl immediately tonight. But I just want to assure you all that we are in the process of putting like the last, crossing the last T and dotting the last I and getting everything submitted to Kickstarter to get every approval and everything. It is the next Kickstarter, which is in the lineup, and I wouldn't say this month, but I'm going to say June most likely. So just hold on for a little bit. We Brendan and I are actually we're fleeing the nation at the end of the month. We're going to be going overseas, so we can't launch it then. So most likely once we get back, but we'll have definitely updates on that. But start mowing those lawns, get the extra money, bring back all the deposits, because this one is going to be a big one. So Brendan, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Wonderful to see you.
So let's talk Xcrawl. For I saw somebody said, "Hey, what is this Xcrawl stuff?" So Brendan, why don't we start there? For those of you what's the elevator pitch about Xcrawl? What do people need to know in order to get ready to back this in soon?
100%. Okay, so the elevator pitch would be that Xcrawl is a modern fantasy adventure game, and the idea is that it's much like our own world. Most of the characters will be living in the North American Empire, which is the world has got fantasy elements. There is still magic. There are the gods can empower people to cast spells and heal folks, and there are monsters and non-human intelligent races that share the earth with man. And that the North American Empire and most of the empires of the world are these totalitarian states. And to keep the masses distracted and from planning revolution, they have created this amazing death sport, Xcrawl, which is a televised arena battle to the death where they put monsters up against professional adventurers. The adventurers are like modern day, like modern athletes and kind of like modern NASCAR in that they have to get sponsorships. They form up in teams. they go out and fight these things. And the dungeons, they have all of the elements that you would expect out of a dungeon crawl. They fight monsters. They look for, there are traps and secret doors and hidden treasures and magic items and the whole 9 yards. But typically, these are done in front of arena crowds, and it can feel more like a lethal game show with a lot of different kind of, like the kind of monster encounter that would never happen in a real dungeon where ecology meant anything. You know what I mean? Where, you know, you can, anything goes as long as a producer just has to sign off on it. So it's good for creating bizarre challenges that you wouldn't see in a normal kind of dungeon adventure.
Right. So this is not Gygaxian naturalism where you have to design an adventure where you're talking about ecology or anything. This is like Michael Bay's Dungeons and Dragons. This is just like set piece after set piece, which is just, you know, because it is there to entertain and it is there to challenge and everything. So yeah. So this is this I think is one of the great features about this, because it really something I discovered during the pandemic when I was running the game is like no boring stuff. Like that's like the mantra of that. Like, you know, get rid of all of the, you know, you take 3 days to travel you there and use 800. No, we've got pterodactyls with flamethrowers in this room, and then the next room we've got yetis with snowblowers, and, you know, one way or the other. So it just kind of rolls through that. So this is the genius, which is Xcrawl, and I think this is why DCC is the best system for Xcrawl. After it's gone through many systems, but I think it's finally found its home. I think it's found its
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a perfect match, and I feel like like I said, this is the 4th rule set ever for Xcrawl, and I feel like it's the most exciting the game has ever been. It feels the most cinematic. It feels, you know, it's an over the top scenario, and it finally has an appropriately over the top rule set to flesh it out and to make it feel just amazing at the table. It's so much fun with the for me as a designer and as a player and judge, it's way more fun than ever.
Right. So let's talk about the player point of view. So there are some of the character classes are going to look familiar. But there's also some new character classes, and basically everything has the Xcrawl kind of spin on it. So why don't you give the fans at home kind of rundown of the character classes, some of them which are new to the DCC expanded universe. So absolutely.
So you can see previews for some of these right now in the Xcrawl beta rules, which are free on the Goodman game site. But real quick, we have athletes, which are a grappling kind of fighter. They have bonuses to physical skills. They're gymnasts, they're lifters, and they're brawlers, and they're open hand fighters, and they are master wrestlers,
luchadors, kung fu masters.
Exactly, yeah. And they have they can do mighty deed of arm type attacks with grappling, and are super tough and a lot of fun to play. And Xcrawl borrows a lot, or is very much inspired by professional wrestling. So the athlete class is a real special place in all of the, in all of that. Blasters. So blasters are the Xcrawl spellcaster, the Xcrawl arcane spellcaster. And the idea is that while the world has wizards, they are too important to statecraft to risk in Xcrawl. So they went to a lesser known spellcasting tradition, which is the blaster. So they actually weave magic effects out of the ambient magic in the air and use it to kind of blow stuff up. So they're the blasters. They tend to have less powerful magic than wizards, but they have more tactical magic. They're very good for small group combat. They have a lot of really interesting spells and a lot of things that can absolutely overturn the rules on a battlefield and make it like really different. We have brawlers who are like they're fighters who are as adept with their fist as they are with weapons, and they get a free punch, kick, or whatever open hand attack every time they fight. And they have special toughness rules. They're a lot of fun. The messengers are they're interesting. Messengers are actually technically demigods. They're bloodline clerics. So every messenger can trace their bloodline back to one of the gods. The main pantheon of the North American Empire is the Olympic pantheon. So it's Jupiter, Apollo, Juno. And these people, they don't have spells, but they have holy acts they can do. So they can heal, they can turn undead creatures, and have other abilities like that. We have specialists. Specialists are like it's a blanket thing for a lot of different smaller classes, all of which are your lock and trap and stealth people that go along in dungeons. But they have rather than in the core DCC book, you have their specialties are based on your alignment. These are sort of based on what their need would be in a team. So you have things like scouts. You have fourth mechanics who are real excellent with traps. You have half-orc slayers, which is a subclass of that, which are just really good at backstabbing. They're fantastic at it. You know what I mean? So a lot of fun at that. And half elf, which are kind of a generalist class that can sort of do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They're a lot of fun. So,
all right. No.
So that's the quick version. Wow.
Right. I heard a rumor that there might be some gnomes showing up at some point or something.
How did I forget gnomes? Yes, gnomes, masters of illusions, and they gnomes have some special stealth powers, and the gnomes have a power I've always wanted to include in a thing, which is draw aggro. Gnomes can actually, through the power of making fun of and cheesing off monsters, can draw them off of their buddies and make them chase them around the battlefield, where hopefully be tripped up by their illusion powers.
Right.
So they're a lot of fun.
So all right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we've hit the four quadrants of good party design. You've got your fighting, you got your magic, you got your healing, you got your stealth. So there you go. That's all you need to do. So all right. Well, so this. All right. So the question is that if you were playing Xcrawl, God forbid that ever happens. This is all a massive scheme just so somebody will eventually run Xcrawl for Brendan one day. But, what do you think your character class would be? What would be your?
I love blasters, but I think at heart I would want to be a messenger. Like I'd like to be that battlefield healer / undead slayer. You know what I mean? Like like power of the gods coming through. I would like that'd be me. You know what I mean? That's what I would. And
you heard it here. Brendan LaSalle he's the guy who gets stuck playing the cleric. That's it.
You know what though? I feel like first off, I think clerics and messengers in DCC it's the most fun version of them in any game ever. You know what I'm saying? I love playing DCC clerics, but I also feel like healing is too important of a job to leave to anybody else. It's one of those things like put me on it because I know I'll be making sure everyone doing my best to make sure everyone makes it home. So.
Yeah, that's why I will never play a healer like in any sort of MMO or online game because if anybody's trusting me to keep them alive, just forget about it. I'm always the tank. Just like point me at what I need to hit, and I will do a great job doing that. It's
beautiful.
Right,
World needs tanks.
Yeah, sorry. So since this is based on the DCC rule set, as we have established, there is no way that we produce a game or a setting which is powered by DCC without tinkering with stuff. All right, we've got to do stuff, and Xcrawl being its very own setting and is trying to accomplish, is trying to evoke a certain feel to it. As we've discussed in this. So what were you able to get under the hood and monkey around with? What have you added to Xcrawl to make it more of its own thing?
Absolutely. Well, since the earliest edition of Xcrawl, there has been the Mojo rules. And the Mojo represents the unconscious power of teamwork that brings everybody higher, so which is why a group of specialists are, together are many times more powerful and effective than the individual components would lead you to believe, So Mojo represents that power of teamwork. Now, it's been around since the earliest days, and it's essentially a bonus scheme where you can give points to your teammates. You have these Mojo points, and when you see your teammate is getting ready to do something crazy and they need to back them up, before they make the roll, you're like, wait, stop, take 2 points of Mojo, take a point of Mojo for that attack, spell, acrobatic feat, whatever it happens to be, skill check. So I did a version of that, and then I played Langmar for the first time, and I said, oh, this is perfect. So it's very much like the modern version. It's very much like Fleeting Luck when you see it in action. It's its own points, but it has that same caveat that while everyone can earn Mojo points as the adventure goes on, if anyone rolls a 1, you lose them all. So spend. Keep pumping your friends up and keep them doing as best as they can, or perish. So that was so thanks again, Mike. That was
glad I knocked a day off of your design. That's all taking that. Well, it was not this anymore for.
It was perfect. And once you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how Mojo should work in DCC. And I had tried a couple of other things, and it would have been fine, but using fleeting luck as my base stat for that, it makes it perfect. You know what I mean? It's so good. It's so fast and so fun. Yeah, Fleeting Mojo, right? Fleeting Mojo should be a band someplace. That should be like a
So since the characters in Xcrawl, they are professional athletes, but they're also, like you said, there's a lot of professional wrestling in there. So there's that relationship between the audience itself, and then so how do you represent this in Xcrawl? Because
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that is represented through grandstanding, which is a special skill that everyone in Xcrawl can do. Grandstanding is the art of working the crowd. Players, you get up there, either during combat or the round after combat, wow, we won, we did this. You give them the Hulk Hogan, you know what I mean, or whatever, however your guy plays it individually. You get the crowd pumped up, you make your check for grandstanding, and if you succeed, you earn fame points. And fame is the coin of the realm in DCC. in DCC Xcrawl. The fame Xcrawl really is kind of like a treatise on fame and celebrity culture and American athletics and capitalism and all of that. So the fame in a campaign setting, fame's super important. It's like how popular your character is, how hot they are, how it'll affect what events they get invited to, and how much money they earn, and their prestige amongst their fellow crawlers, which is always, of course, super huge. And they can actually, one of the things they can do is fame burn. You can actually, like modern celebrities, you can use your celebrity muscle to throw around and make life a little easier for you in places, So you might be able to do a couple of points of fame burn to, say, get out of a DUI, or something along those lines, or, receive an invitation to huge big gala that's going on, or, arrange it, muscle your way into like meeting other celebrities, or getting other kind of perks, So you can actually go ahead and you can spend them as well as collect them, but it'll the more famous your character is, the bigger your name is, and the more you will ring out, and it'll make everything easier for you. And it's a fun mojo thing.
And that brings up a good point. Just like in the frame that you brought, that is, I think, rightfully, it's like when you see Xcrawl, you think of dungeon crawl, you think of, and that is predominantly the focus of the game and the setting and everything. But as you say, it's like, it doesn't have to be the entire, set. I mean, there is, you're running. It's not like not necessarily every session we do another crawl. It's like there is this whole kind of outside of the performance arena, section of people's characters, where they get a situation where, they're trying to get sponsors, or they're getting pulled over because they had one too many at the sports club, or, or anything like that. So there is kind of like downtime has its own connotation, but you're saying outside of the performance space, that you part of the campaign as well.
Oh, absolutely. And in my, Xcrawl was my home campaign for years before I ever even thought about publishing it, and our characters had a whole lot of adventures that were either they got involved in espionage, and they got like leaned on by professional criminals who wanted them to throw events, and they had to fight the mob, and international getting involved in international conflicts. There's actually one of the things in the book is actually a throwback to something that Goodman Games used to do all the time that I loved. It's got a random 1 to 100 table of ideas for adventures outside of the Xcrawl arena, so there's a lot of that you can sort of draw from. I don't know. I hope I hope it's creating a very deep campaign world for people that can, where they start off as characters in the arena, but then they expand beyond that and go and have adventures beyond the actual, Xcrawl, oeuvre.
Okay. All right, let's get into one last thing, because this is something that I think I just kind of fascinating about, because this is a level where like the game and reality chooses kind of meta level at one level, and that's when we're talking about the role of the DJ. Now, I mean, and we don't necessarily mean that as somebody who's performing in the club. We mean that as basically there's two connotations for DJ in Xcrawl. And so would you like to explain what those two connotations
are?
Sure,
absolutely.
Break the fourth wall on some level,
Yeah, absolutely. So the DJ is the dungeon judge, and the DJ is the master of ceremony who actually puts together the actual dungeon. So they they buy the monsters or Shanghai the monsters or hire the monsters. They design the layout, decide what traps are going to be there. They bring in the sponsorship packages, decide exactly what kind of poison gas is going to be coming up with events if you miss the tripwire and all of that. So the DJ is a constant presence in every game that involves an actual Xcrawl arena, a battle. They tend to have themes. They tend to have these larger than life personalities that are come to the forefront. And because of that, they you can kind of sort of design the world through their eyes, through their foilables, and have these dungeons that really feel like living places because you have this one person at the top of it who is orchestrating it all. But then at the same time, I mean, you're the DJ of your campaign if you're running Xcrawl, so you're that DJ pulling the other DJ's string. So I kind of hope that eventually everybody who's running Xcrawl out there will also come up with their own DJ name and throw that up, in their posts and everything. And because you are the DJ of your own world, and you're the boss of the other DJs. So
And the reason this fascinates me from a design point of view, but both as like a role playing any design point of view, is because it's like for when you're running like your standard DCC thing, you have like, okay, like I'm going to build the dungeon, and like, okay, so like you may have a concept for the dungeon, like it was an ancient like temple or something. Now it's overrun by undead or something. But with Xcrawl, like you literally there's like if you can do it this way, you don't necessarily have to do this. But first of all, like if you imagine the DJ who is putting together this Xcrawl, and then you kind of come up with their personality, and then using that personality, kind of this NPC mentality in your head, then you go about designing the dungeon, and you're like, okay, what kind of dungeon would this person design? So obviously, flamboyant would do something against somebody who is like a puzzle master or something like that. So I think it works on so many different levels. It's fascinating to me. So and every one of the adventures that I read is like it has their own DJ, and each one has its own different feel because like the funnel, you have one type of DJ, and then please Xcrawl don't hurt him, we have another type, and he's very Death in the Dungeon of Tomorrow. So I think that's fascinating. So it's like exactly role playing the dungeon master. So
exactly, Tony.
So yeah,
fully.
That's fascinating. So I mean, yeah, so that's kind of the overview about what Xcrawl is. I'm sure you're gonna be hearing a lot more about it over the coming weeks as we get closer and closer to launching the Kickstarter. But we wanted to start focusing on it. We have stuff plans for the Kickstarter. We have weekly meetings, and half the time they are very half the time we come up with great ideas, and the other time we're just cracking up. So it's gonna be a great campaign, and this is it. Yeah, thank you for being very patient. It has been a while, but it's all good things come to those who wait, and we appreciate you've been waiting. So expect more in the coming weeks and next month and stuff. So hopefully get stuff. All right. So we're almost out of time. So let me do the quick kind of like the kind of survey. Unless there's any last thing that you want to talk to me about Xcrawl before we move on.
Not in 2 minutes. Just thanks so much, and get ready. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to hear what you all do. I can't wait to see what you guys do with it. I can't wait to see how people design their own dungeons for it, and I'm really excited to hear the story. So go rock on.
All right, we can just roll into what's coming up, because actually the first one is something that you know about. So this is what you have to look forward to in May, and the first thing was announced today, and that is the Road Crew poster contest is back, and that's if I recall, Brendan is helping orchestrate that, and that is for until the end of this month. We are accepting submissions for ideas for Road Crew posters, as you would guess from a contest name. That we do not quite know what the winners will receive, but I've been assured the prizes are fabulous. So there you go. So it will not be turtle wax. So those, if you got great ideas, all the details are on the Goodman Games website right now. So start putting your brains together, because if the sticker contest and the bumper sticker contest are any indication, we know you are all going to come up with some crazy stuff. So we're looking forward to seeing what you have to say in that. All right. So yeah, I cannot gain $1,000 in prizes. I do not know. All I know, they're fabulous. So all right. As I said at the top of the hour, we've got nothing from the official Goodman game release coming out this month, hitting the shelves. However, we've got the pre-orders for the new and improved DCC reference book will be in the middle of the month, so look for that probably next week. You start being able to see that. But we have a load of third-party stuff, and if you are a MCC fan, boy, this is the month for you. So we've got coming up this week, we have Badass Bunnies. I know we've talked about that before on this, but but that is coming out. It's fellow Watership Down meets Metamorphosis Alpha meets Mutant Crawl Classics. So if you want some Badass Bunnies in your campaign, this is where to go. We're gonna have Rats of Rotlu. That has been out before, I believe, or at least but another James Posnell subject. That is a DCC adventure, which as you can imagine involves some cats and some rats and stuff. And we also have, which is perhaps one of the better names I've heard this month. This is also for MCC. This is Jungle Incursion into the Lair of the Batmen. so there you go. So
hell yeah.
if you've been looking for an excuse to incursion into some Batman's lair, this is definitely the week for you. That could be available on the website in PDF and print for MCC. And then next week, I advise you all to go out now and go watch the new Winnie the Pooh horror movie, so I don't have to, because next week we have two adventures under one cover, and that is Christopher Robin's Nightmare and the Blood Rose Curse, and those are going to be two second-level DCC adventures. So if you're looking for something to round that out. Then we're also going to have Elfland Beyond the Fields We Know, which is a supplement for Elfland, for the realm of fairy. So if you run the Queen of Elfland's son, and you're tired of waiting for a certain person to come up with a sequel to it because he's been too busy doing other stuff, this will hold you over. Also that is going to be a Winter's Heart, which is a 0-level pamphlet adventure. So if you want something really short and everything, it is going to be coming. And that is there's also going to be more stuff coming out in the second half of the month, but I don't have all the information on that. But it's a very, very busy month for the third-party stuff. We're also going to have the What Can the DCC Cult Do For You t-shirt. I know some of you have seen those on social media. Those are going to be available through the Goodman Games web store. And I have to talk about the not the elephant in the room, but the Cyclops in the room, because this weekend, whoop whoop, War of the Cyclops Con. Just somebody there is already getting ahead of wearing their Cyclops Con t-shirt. So that is if you are not doing anything this weekend and you're looking for some gaming Saturday and Sunday, there are still some games open, but I would not wait. I would go and get your badge if you've not got one and sign up for those today. Also got good Twitch stuff coming. It's going to be a return of GatherTown. We've not done GatherTown in a little while. GatherTown, if you've never experienced GatherTown live, it is awesome. It's like The Legend of Zelda meets hanging out online at Zoom. You have a little avatar and you walk around, you get to go into the bar and hang out, and if you're lucky, I might give you an adventure. I may give you a kitten because it's not safe to go alone. No, right? So that's it. So as also better choice, you get to game in your jammies. What better you can do that? I might do what I've done in the past. I might actually paint miniatures and talk to people on GatherTown to pass time. So that's it for month. That's it for the month of May. We've got a lot of stuff happening. Thank you very much again, Brendan, for being on the show. Thank you, Matt, for being on there.
Thank you.
Next month is going to be June Maw of Mike. It's going to be a delayed show because the first Monday of June I will not be in the States. I will be wrapping up UK Game Expo, so I will not be back in time for that. So I'll look for the next Maw of Mike June 12th, which will actually be the second Monday of June, and it'll fall right between UK Game Expo and Origins. So that's it, folks. Thank you very much for spending some time with me for this hour, and I think that's about it. We'll call it a night. Appreciate you all your attendance here, and until we're back next time, everybody stay awesome.